Alright guys, Jay at Broader Performance here. So what we're going to look at today is a little bit about how the hydraulics on these Cruise O Matics work. What we're looking at here is 1961 to 66. There's been some variations on this unit hydraulically. There's a lot of variations on this unit, honestly, but so this is a version with the vacuum modulator, and it's the green dot pattern, what they call dual drive. It didn't have a manual second position. This is probably the most common Cruise O Matic you'll run across. So I'm going to go over a few hydraulic modifications with this unit, and it's pretty sad to admit that I've spent a lot of time playing games with these. There were some shift kits years ago that I think you can sometimes still find, and you know, they never really did a whole lot for this unit in the way of high performance. They were more kind of OEM fixes and things like that. I'm going to go over a couple of those things, and I'm going to go over what the problem is with this unit. I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm not going to be able to do it today, but I'm going to demonstrate this unit on the dyno so you can see what the pressure does. And that'll be very interesting, and I'm going to try to modify it. So what happens with this unit is, like if you floor the unit from a dead stop, your pressure will go up pretty high. You know, again, a lot of variations, but you know, roughly they'll hit about 200 psi, which is an awful lot of pressure in this unit. They don't even really need that much, but they can, you know, I've seen them go up that high. But what happens is, as the governor starts to spin and build pressure, it backs your line pressure off on you. And so what happens is, once you get to a certain road speed, and even at wide open throttle, your pressure might drop to 50 pounds. If you're lucky, only drop to 75 pounds. It gets really low. And it's too low for anything, you know, with a lot of power. So if you've modified your engine, or, you know, you've got a big block FE motor or something, generally what happens with these is they just fry third gear. That's been my experience with them. They usually shift fairly decent, even though, you know, a lot of people call them a slush O Matic and things like that. But when they're fresh and they're right, they a lot of times honestly shift fairly firm on their own. So, you know, the goal with this unit isn't really to get it shifting hard. The goal is to get that pressure up, and that's a problem. So it's been many years since I've messed with this. I would say I haven't messed with this in about 15 to 20 years. So I don't really remember exactly what I tried and all the stuff that happened, but I did get this to be better. So instead of, say, dropping down to 50 pounds, I could get it so that it would drop down to maybe 80 or 100. It always kind of varied. Which, you know, for this unit, 100 psi is useful. You know, in a lot of other units, 100 psi is just automatic death. But in this unit, by the time you get up into third gear, 100 psi isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad either. So I know that really sounds terrible, but I just want to point that out. You know, we could go over surface area and leverage, and, you know, I could make a big long thing of this, but I think there's maybe about 5 or 10 people out there that really even care to listen to this on this old unit. But anyways, you know, I'm a niche business, so I'm here for the little guys. or the small number of guys, not necessarily little guys. But all right, so without getting too in depth here, if you look here, this is called a compensator valve, and it's got a valve on this end, and it's got this, if you look here, cutback valve. It's a cutback valve on this side, okay? So here's our governor. Here's line pressure coming in to feed the governor. Line pressure also comes over to this cutback valve. Okay? As this governor builds pressure, this blue oil, and you're going to see it branches off and it goes a lot of different places. And we come down here. So let's see, yeah, that's going to stay there even during a shift. So see this oil here, this governor oil goes to both sides of this, on both ends. This compensator valve is in the center. So it goes to this governor plug valve, and then it goes to the end of this cutback valve. It kind of opposes each other. There's more surface area on this end than there is on this end. Plus, you've also got line pressure opposing on this as well. So as line pressure comes up, it's going to force this cutback valve back here, and this will have less influence on the compensator. And what that means is, as line pressure builds, it tends to want to drop the line pressure. It kind of fights against itself in a sense. And also, as governor pressure builds, and like I said, as road speed increases, governor pressure increases, that's going to cause the line pressure to drop as well. And like I said, it can drop pretty low. I had a unit one time, it was dropping to 25 pounds, really low. I think, honestly, that was the first unit I experienced that with. I think it was on a old 57 Ford or something, if I remember right. And I checked the pressure on that. The car drove good, oddly enough, but I drove the car with a pressure gauge, and I saw it was dropping to 25 pounds, and I was like, oh my God, what? I screwed something up. That ain't right. Because, I'm used to looking at pressures of more modern transmissions, and they don't drop that low, especially as you give it throttle. If you would give this throttle, the pressure just stayed there. It didn't ramp up. You didn't get pressurized like you normally get. I called a guy I knew that, had more experience in the business than I did at the time, and I said, hey, I built one of these Cruisos, and here's what's happening. He didn't know anything about it. It's like, I don't know. I never drove home with a pressure gauge. I don't even know what you're talking about, man. It's like, okay, yep, on our own, as usual. So, I came to realize that was normal for this unit. I accepted it for a while. I tried a lot of different things to fix it. Again, never really fixed it. I made it better, so where the pressure would still drop, but it just wouldn't drop so much. Here's what was happening to me. As I went and just eliminated this cutback, which I achieved that. I got rid of it where you could actually modulate the line, but what happened is the unit wouldn't shift anymore. If you look, and, I know this is a very vague explanation, but I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't even understand this 100%, but you have the governor, you have line, all working on this compensator. This compensator basically acts on your pressure regulator. And let me see. It's not even in that diagram. Here's our pressure regulator here. So this compensator, if you follow this is our boost on our pressure regulator. And it kind of works. You still have a throttle modulator valve because this is your vacuum modulator. So this mixes oil and changes the pressure, but it goes through this compensator first, and then this compensator actuates on this main pressure regulator. So I've tried to eliminate this guy from the equation, so off of the modulator I could just boost on our main pressure regulator and get a pressure boost regardless of road speed. But the transmission does not like that, and it stops shifting on you, and that's the problem. I know a guy who's real intelligent guy. He used to do some stuff. I used to use his dyno and things. He used to build a lot of these units. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Mrs. Beard's Bread, but he used to build the units for the bread trucks, and they had these Cruisos in the delivery trucks back in the day. I don't know, it's in the 70s sometime. And he knows hydraulics, and he tried to do what I tried to do, and he told me the same thing. Yeah, man, I've messed with that years ago, and the damn thing wouldn't shift once I did. He told me that with the mods I came up with, I actually had gotten further than he had as far as, getting more pressure out of this unit. So I've got an idea, and the thing is, again, this is like 15-20 years ago. I've probably tried this before, but I've got another idea. I think it's a new idea. I'm going to try to, I don't know why, because I don't even really build these units much anymore, and I don't think there's too many people that really care about them, and certainly not in a high performance application. Because let's face it, I mean, you build a big motor and you stop beating up on these, and you break anything in them, it's so hard to get parts for them anymore. So that's an issue. So I don't know, it's a complete and utter waste of time, but it's just kind of one of those things. It's a personal goal. I just got defeated, and I don't know. I just want to achieve this just for myself. There's no money in it. So here's what we're going to do. This is the unit that I'm here building that was locking up in third on the customer. Customer built it himself, and this is kind of a video on its own, but this is sort of a part 3 to that video series on this, I believe, about a 1963 transmission. I'm going to, they're wanting it, and they, the usual crap. There's just no time for experimentation, just no time for R&D, but I'm going to try to sneak a mod in if I can, and run it on the dyno, see if it works. If it works, great. If it doesn't, oh well. They're just going to get my old mod that I know works pretty well and just send them on down the road and move on with life. And I've got an FMX core. I might build that up when I have time and just make it happen on that. This is basically, FMX is just a newer version of this. So I may do that if this does not work out time-wise. And I'll do a video on that and all that good stuff. So if you look at the circuit here, this is reverse. I'll show you down here, okay? This shows you the circuit in reverse. And if you look here, there's no oil. This governor oil is gone, which I know I've done that. I've taken the governor oil off of this, thinking it would work like it does in reverse, because in reverse you can control pressure with the throttle, with the pedal. So you're basically trying to get that pressure rise that you have in reverse in forward gear. Not as easy as it seems, because again, I've tried to do this before. So I think I've canceled this oil before on both sides of the valve, but the problem is it didn't want to shift after. So we're going to try again. I have a theory maybe as to why, but I don't know. Can't say for sure it's going to work, but I'm damn sure going to give it a try. Alright, so that's basically what I got going on here. And if anybody happens to know anything about this, and you may not want to tell me what you did, but I'm just curious if anybody else has ever tried this. Those old shift kits that Transco used to make back in the day did not address any of this. They'd give you new springs for the compensator. They'd replace these springs, but those kits never really did much. At least not in my opinion. So, okay. And I'll just show you. This is the part of the valve body that the compensator goes in. And this is where the compensator valve sits, right in here. So you know where it is in the valve body. And if you remember how cruddy this thing was, it's a lot better looking now. That was probably about, 2 hours in the ultrasonic cleaner to get it like that. This thing was all sludged up. So anyways, that's that. A couple other things I'm going to show you here as far as firming shifts up. This is your intermediate servo. Now, some of them in here, they had an accumulator piston. And you can see this hole here, but this hole is not drilled through. This one does not, this one was made without the accumulator piston, okay? And this hole was never drilled. And there's also, again, not drilled, another hole back here. So there would be a tube that went here to your, that's not here, it's still in the ultrasound. Anyways, this is day 3 in the ultrasound, by the way, to get all this stuff clean. But there was a tube here that went into the main regulator body. And then, like I said, this hole here was into the piston here, or maybe I forget. I could be telling you wrong, or maybe this is where it went into the accumulator. I'm sorry, the pressure regulator body. I forget. But anyways, if you happen to have one of these and you want to firm up the 1-2, and Ford did this themselves. This didn't really work very well. You can plug this here. Don't put the piston in. Make sure this hole, is plugged. You may have to plug that hole in there. And then, of course, you're going to have to plug the hole. Very important. Don't forget to plug the hole in the main pressure regulator body. Or else you have a massive leak and pressure problem. But that's one way to firm up your 1-2 shift. And honestly, that's about all you need to do for it. 1-2 is pretty good shift on these typically. When it's, all working good and adjusted properly. The other thing, I don't really fully understand this, but your rear servo, these older units, FMX just had a single piston. This had a piston inside a piston, And let me get this out here. So I don't really know what the purpose of this is, but this, if you look down inside here, it's a one-way check valve, and I'm pushing on it. So oil can come into here, and then it gets trapped on the way out. So oil will come in and can push this smaller piston up. This is for the rear band. And if you can see, let's take a look. I don't know if you can see light through there. I don't think you can see, but you can look there. There's a little tiny hole drilled just to relieve it. And I think, you know, those old valve body kits and stuff, and I think an old Ford service bulletin told you to, what you do, you remove this and plug it, and then you're going to drill a hole in here, just a small, like a 30 thou hole. And it's basically just going to make it a single piston again, kind of like what the FMX has. So I think by doing that, it stopped that really hard reverse engagement, is why you do that. It's kind of annoying. It's not really a mod to make it shift harder. It actually is making it shift softer in a reverse, and I believe that's the point of that. And also, like if you were doing a manual 1-2 shift, because you have the one-way clutch in it, you don't have to worry about like a flare-up on a manual 1-2 shift. The older units that didn't have the one-way clutch in it probably needed this piston to come off slowly, so you didn't get that buzz up when you manually shifted from first to second. And that may be the real reason for this design. And even after they put the sprag in the unit, they didn't correct this. They left it alone, and then they realized later that they needed to fix this, and did it later on. You know, by, you know, I guess 61, they fixed that. So that's about it there. Again, I'll do another video on this where we actually do some hands-on and get this thing on the dyno. I'll let you see the pressure dropping or not. Maybe, you know, I'll try to do this mod again I'm talking about, and then you will see how it just won't shift anymore. It's a very fussy unit. It just doesn't like you messing with it. That's why there's never really a whole lot for performance shift kits and things for it. This is even a problem with the FMX too. You know, don't let that fool you. And I know they probably still make a shift kit for it. It gave you a servo and everything, but that unit still suffers from the same problem where the 1-2 will be fine, but 2-3 or your third gear, you're going to burn out third gear with a motor that's got some power. So unless you can find a way to get this pressure better, which again, I can get it better, but not quite all the way like I'd like it to. So, all right, guys, I'll try to do it on this unit so you're not having to wait a year for this video to come out. We'll see. Well, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, and get alerts on the channel if you want to see when this is, when we do the next section on it, if you're interested in it. Thanks a lot.